Cyberpunk 2077 is finally here, and even though it has been 5 days since its official release at the time of making this video, criticism, frustration, controversy, and a general sense of a big disappointment seems to be the common theme among gamers and reviewers alike, regardless of the platform they have chosen to play the game on or the platform they have chosen to raise their voices in. And by the looks of it, those are not going to go away anytime soon. Hello, YouTubers and gamers. Drummer Dreamer here. So, I wanted to join this review train and share my opinion on the matter after some 20 plus hours of gameplay during the weekend, which I believe to be a healthy mix between the story and open world exploration, as well as getting my bearings in Night City and getting to know about the features and quirks of the game. But not to worry, I'm not going to give it a Doug score in the end. As I said, I have played a good amount, enough to put together a review with my first impressions. I guess I have earned my wings to review the game now. This happens to also be my debut review, which kind of makes it special for me. I will share my first impressions, but I will not get into the controversies on how deceitful CD Projekt was in their preview strategy prior to launch, to cover up the abysmal state of the game on base current-gen consoles, for example. Well, in all fairness, I also believe it was such a cheap move. I happen to be one of the fortunate ones to own an Xbox One X, which happens to hold pretty well here in the video, as you can see, and as a result, I'm able to experience the game with less issues in comparison to a majority of people. Moving on. Where was I? Oh, yeah. I will not get into the controversies on how overhyped expectations have been deliberately set to boost up pre-sales, or pre-sales figures rather, and to please the money-grubbing overlords, and how those expectations were not met, and gamers were once again let down as a result. Or how this game is undercooked, or how buggy it is, or how much it should have been delayed even further, or not. Or how CD Projekt Red is no different than the studios they have criticized over the years for this exact sort of behavior. Or how pre-orders are in service of corporate greed and ruining the gaming industry. Or, here's my favorite, how the existence of consoles have always been and will be what is holding back the gaming industry to deliver state-of-the-art software, quote unquote, to be run on a $5,000 rig, and all hail the majestic PC mustard race, yada yada yada. These have all been said time and time again and discussed and argued, both in the context of this particular game and many others that came before that. No, this is not that kind of review. This is not a rant. This is just a review where I will try to share my first impressions, that's all. I would like to get the obvious out of the way first. I genuinely think this is a beautiful game. Despite its plethora of shortcomings, glitches, and buggy bits at its current state, as well as inconsistencies in its gameplay, there is a lot to love about, unless, of course, you own the base current-gen consoles. We kind of covered that already. Therefore, please don't let anyone to convince you otherwise. Not gonna lie here, at first I was quite a bit underwhelmed and been known to text my friends saying my butt even looks and runs better than this game. Like, hey guys, are you seeing the same thing I'm seeing? What the hell is going on? Yes, I did that. And I am not particularly proud of myself for being so unfair at first. But in my defense, it looked nothing like a new game that was released just a few days ago. It constantly froze. It was looking like something that you see behind a thin veil pulled over your eyes. It crashed several times when not being able to recover from its frozen state. Hell, it even shut my Xbox off twice. It is definitely not a very good sign when a game causes that, and where one has never experienced with any other game on that very same unit up until that point in time. But despite all that, I wanted to play. A quick side note on the matter, at the time of making this video, the 1.04 hotfix seemed to resolve most of these issues, as I have not experienced any crashes or freezes since. Maybe a split-second stutter here and there during autosaves, which are barely even noticeable. Even the game looks and plays considerably better. As I said, I wanted to play despite all this. But why? As Skill Up had very eloquently put in his extensive review, it definitely feels much greater than the sum of its parts. It has an amazing story. It is for sure a technological achievement, a marvel even, an aesthetically pleasing, carefully crafted, engaging adventure where I feel like I can overlook its many issues mainly because of its ambition, sheer scope and scale that we have never seen the likes of before. The flip side is that very nature apparently is also making this game its own biggest enemy. It aspires to excel at so many things such as visuals, sound design, soundtrack, storytelling, content, voiceover acting, cutscenes, gunplay, open world driving, mission design, stealth, action, role playing aspects such as choices that are meaningful and consequential, character development. Excuse me, character development, a huge skill tree, three, huge skill tree, looting, crafting, gear stats and upgrades, in-game economy, loot economy, and so on and so on and so on. Therefore, when you pick any individual parts that you do not like, or feel underwhelmed about, or downright hate even at a first glance, I believe it is very easy to fall into the obvious trap of not seeing or failing to acknowledge the overall picture that it somehow works. It is far from perfect for sure, but it works. As a Witcher fan who has spent 200 plus hours on Witcher 3 alone, not including the two expansions, one of which can easily qualify as a separate game in its own right, I distinctly remember how Witcher 3 was during its launch and how most of these issues were fixed after. Night City and the surrounding desert, which is not shown in the video, surrounding desert and this desert wasteland is vast, full with interesting settings and opportunities to dive into. It feels like visiting a real world city that actually exists. The attention to detail is simply mind boggling and kind of makes you understand why it struggles to perform on less powerful gear. Albeit, that is no excuse because it was advertised to work on these machines, so it should at least be playable. But it seems the developers have taken what they have learned over the years developing Witcher 3, for example, and applying that knowledge into creating a living, breathing world crawling with interesting stuff to stop and gaze upon for a long time. But, yes, there comes the inevitable but you were all probably expecting if you're still hanging around and watching. As mentioned earlier, even though I enjoy playing the game very much, and honestly believe it's a beautiful and a very good looking game, and this all somehow work, there are fundamental issues to be pointed out for the sake of this video to qualify as a review. Here they are in no particular order. First off, this game is not an RPG. It has the characteristics of an RPG, but feels more like an open world, first-person looter shooter, rather, with a twist, and that twist is its amazing and engaging story. Next, the protagonist, in my opinion, is not believable. It simply doesn't click, at least not for me. It could be because of the voice acting or the way the character's story and dialogues are constructed. I cannot quite put my finger on what bothers me most. Nevertheless, I simply don't care if V lives or dies, but I did care for Geralt or Adam Jensen, for example, in Deus Ex, when I was playing those. Feel disconnected, off. But it might change as I progress towards the story. I just feel like I tolerate him now just to see the story moving forward, which is an amazing one. Did I mention that? I think the same can be said with the casting of Keanu Reeves as Johnny Silverhand. Don't get me wrong, I don't have any problems with him, but I did not connect with him either. No disrespect to Keanu Reeves. Well, even if I disrespected him, he probably couldn't care less anyway. But there, I'm saying it. He feels stiff, plastic, and cliche. Again, probably with no fault of his own, maybe due to some creative choices that are made along the way that resulted in this. We all love him. He's a super nice guy. Let's leave it at that. Next, we have gunplay. Gunplay felt quite off at first, but I guess it kind of grew on me. Now, I quite like how some of the guns sound and feel an overall shooting experience. There could be a number of reasons for the shift in my perception. Either I got used to its clunkiness over time, or higher level guns are feeling more distinct, therefore, gunplay gets better and more enjoyable as you progress with your character, the weapons upgrades, skills, and perks that work in tandem with them. Crafting seems a bit pointless, as looting instead seems to get you more gear and weapons than the correct level of crafting components you would need to craft them if you were to choose crafting them. So all in all, running around grinding for materials seemed only good for selling them to make some money in the current state of looting and crafting economy. The game economy is also quite grindy, as some items like cyberware implants, upgrades, as well as some sort of weapons and especially cars are super expensive. I'm not sure if that was a design choice or that's something CDPR has any future plans to optimize. Hacking, and especially stealth play, is nowhere near the level of Deus Ex, for example, where I know it is possible for one to finish the entire game without firing a single bullet nor killing a single NPC. I did not dare try it myself, nevertheless my primary playstyle was stealth, and I only went guns blazing where I was not able to figure out how otherwise back then. In Cyberpunk, there seems to be mods that turn your weapons into non-lethal ones that is supposed to take down enemies without killing, or you can go with the stealth kill, but based on my experience so far, I don't see how that's even possible to get through some of these missions with pure stealth gameplay with this much enemy NPCs and how they have been spread across the mission area. I don't think the current level or mission design allows a complete stealth approach. I may be mistaken though. Let's see what happens once I play more and more. I'm open to revisit this in a later review maybe and update accordingly. Next up, I guess it is worth touching a bit on the role-playing aspect, or kind of sort of role-playing aspect of the game at this point, which at times felt a bit inconsequential. But on the flip side, most dialogues and choices you make seem to impact your path to a certain degree as you go along. Need to play again some more to make a little more accurate observation on this. My first impression on the skill tree and perks is that they are a little overboard, which makes it a little difficult to wrangle and get by. I went primarily in the direction of bumping my body and technical skills first to gain some edge in combat, as well as in getting into areas that are difficult to get in, pick up locks and so on. So as a rule of thumb, I would suggest doing the same. Intelligence should also not be overlooked, as it helps you hack and data mine and make some money alternatively that you would definitely need every single bit of. Everything is quite expensive in Night City. Another important one, as far as I can see, is Reflex, which basically improves gunplay. Cool helps you sort of get discounts and negotiate or bargain your way in, as well as unlocking different and interesting dialogue options unique to your starting class, albeit I did not so far see an awfully critical use for it. There, I believe that's it for this one. So those were some of my notes and first impressions, and I hope to gather some more and make another video maybe as I go along and continue playing, because I enjoy it very much so far. Cyberpunk 2077 is a game unfinished for sure. It probably will never be in the next couple of years, but I think it delivers for the most part. Aside from a few glitches here and there, I have not experienced any severely immersion-breaking issues so far. Then again, this is a video of my initial impressions, and I have seen quite a large number of people complaining because they're experiencing otherwise. Either my expectations were not as high, or I was one of the lucky few that did not have that many issues so far As I mentioned, my playtime I think is quite decent, but probably not that much in comparison to those people. Bottom line is, the ideas this game contains are bold, exciting, and in my opinion, making this game deliver more so than it falls short. Of course, leaving aside for a moment the bugs and glitches or the performance issues that hurt the experience or making it downright unplayable for certain people. If you're like me and care more about the game itself than its visual fidelity, for example, which I believe it has amazing visuals, I'd say Cyberpunk 2077 is a good buy for you. I hope CDPR would fix these issues surrounding the current gen base console models quickly and make the game playable for the disappointed people that own them. If not, there will surely be more refund requests coming their way. Drummer Dreamer signing off. Peace.